everybody, and welcome to episode 16 of Life Change and Transformation. My name is Maeve Langford. I'm a transformational coach working out of Ireland, and I absolutely believe in people, and I work with you to create and live a life you totally love living. And I'm joined here by my co-host, Gary Benoit, the amazing Gary. So Gary is a speaker and a coach, and he's a certified licensed financial planner and author of the book A Call for Service. He has served for over 25 years as a police officer, recently retired, and is leaning into his calling, his new calling, to serve people and supports you in creating transformation. And really, transformation is what we're all about. So excited to be here for another episode, Gary.
Awesome.
So we're in summer season.
Yes.
And we had some thoughts about that.
And we did. At least in Canada right now, this podcast will be aired right when school is pretty well done here in Alberta. And so people will be looking at the summertime and moving into that time when the schedules are a little bit looser, right? The kids are off school, so they kind of have more flexibility and they're not always on that routine. Things get a little bit loose around our diets. Sometimes we are having a little more fun than we are normal, which is amazing. I think it's amazing to have that fun. Sometimes we get a little loose with our daily routines as well. And so I think, you know, one of the things that comes to mind is we want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to continue our progress. Because if sometimes, like I said, I've done this too in my past, I'm guilty of this as well, where summertime comes around and I'm like, I'm on holiday mode. And holiday mode that's going to be a week or 10 days lasts like 2 months, the whole summer. And I'm like, well, now I got to start over again. I got to reload everything. And it feels like I got to start from scratch in the fall. And so we're trying to avoid that essentially, right? Because I think that's human nature sometimes to get a little bit loose with those things. And it becomes a little bit like, do I really have to do that today? You know?
Yeah. And, I think, and I've been working with myself on this even before I really understood transformation and the energetics of all of it. But I used to be curious with myself that what is it that I have these goals and these results that I absolutely want, but I tell myself holidays are a time to just throw all of that out the window. And if I've been on a healthy eating campaign or a fitness campaign or whatever it is, meditation or, whatever daily practices that I'm trying to instill that I desire to have, because I want where they're going to take me. But somehow, because I'm on holiday, I'm not going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And for someone like me, like when I'm on holiday, I typically have way more time,
Mm-hmm.
there's
Mm-hmm.
it's not, I don't have all my normal work commitments. So I kind of got curious about that, a good few years ago, saying like, what is it that makes me say in a time which could actually be optimal to do some of the things that serve me, that I just chuck it out the window.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been working with myself to say holidays are times when I can eat really well, when I can, maybe create some opportunities for additional exercise because I'm not at work, and again, activities that I really enjoy. It's not about doing stuff I don't want to do, but to, have an extra walk or an extra swim, or maybe it's an opportunity we have a bank holiday weekend coming up. It was an opportunity for me to go kayaking, which I've been saying for 18 months, I want to go kayaking.
It's awesome.
So we build it in. Why don't we build it in more to do the things that nourish us and resource us, and to see holidays as a time for that? So
Great
that's
question.
my offer today to people listening, is to really get curious about, well, how do you want to experience your holidays?
For sure.
What would you love the result to be?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I think that is such that framing it that way is so key. Um, and I agree. Summer comes around and people will say, well, I get busy because my kids are always around, and they're especially if you've got younger kids they just don't have that structure anymore, right? They're free to do whatever, right?
Yeah.
And so because of that, I think we use it as a bit of an excuse at times to not do some of the things that we think we could be still be doing. For me, like I was when I worked my 25 years of policing, I was every, summertime would come around. So there's sometimes I would take summer vacations, and sometimes if when I did take the summer vacations, when I had the seniority to do that, when I had the ability to do that, that particular time was just an absolute write-off when it came to like doing things for my goals and dreams. I would just literally, like you talk about throwing caution to the wind. That was it. I just stopped it entirely, but for no real good reason.
Mm.
Right. Because you're right. I had more time to do all the things that, right. Instead of seeing, and I didn't see it that way.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until recently that I realized that, like that whole piece of, well, in the summer, I do maybe have a little more time, especially when you are on that holiday piece. And some people have to work through the summer, and I get that you're working through the summer, and it's the daily routine for you doesn't change. Um, but what happens is we get lazy around the outside pieces of that too, because your kids are still there. You're picking up that slack a little bit, right? So we want to be able to just sort of impress people like you. If for me, it's the calendar work, right?
Hmm.
So if you have the calendar and and some people work through the summertime when they take that one summertime break, take 2 or 3 weeks off in the summertime for vacation. That's when you can do the extras, right? That extra time to go have that extra swim or have that kayak or have that hike or have that walk or have whatever that is or have that bike ride with the family or whatever that looks like,
Yeah.
right? And you can incorporate your family time into some of that stuff as well if you're just mindful about it. And
Yeah.
and we all want to have a life that we love, and we all have different goals and dreams, of course, but I believe that we all deserve a life that we absolutely love, right? And so for me, a piece of that is trying to be more healthy. It's always been a thing we try to do, right? We work on um, creating better habits around fitness and around food and around uh,
Sleep, maybe.
sleep, maybe alcohol consumption. I mean, summertime comes and there's a lot of patios and a lot of parties and a lot of barbecues and not always the best food necessarily, depending on what's going on there, right? But if
Hmm.
you're just, mindful of certain things and really being careful about it is really, really key, as well as the calendar piece. Like I say, I do believe your calendar is really, really important, right? To give you still the time to meditate, put it in your calendar, like meditation and connect with your vision. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm just smiling because I just to for our Irish listeners, there are people on the European side of the Atlantic, calendar and diary. So we
Oh,
probably say the word diary.
sorry.
So use your diary. Yeah, but same idea, right? To schedule it in, because if it's in there, and again, I know in the past I would have been when I'm on my holidays, I don't do diary or clock time, but again, it's like, using the structures that support you the rest of the year. If it's working for you 9, 10, 11 and a half months of the year, it's going to work for you on your holidays as
For sure.
well. So if it's working, keep doing it.
I agree.
And I think kind of tied up in all of what you've just been saying is to just be intentional,
Mm,
you know, and rather than a kind of either I'm being good and working on my goals, or I'm being kind of scheduled, or I'm on holidays, to maybe try to bring those, and then if I'm on holidays I do none of those things. It's kind of just to be intentional around bringing it together a bit and
I
say,
agree.
I can have holidays, and my business can still be growing, and I can be my fittest and healthiest
Yeah,
self, and I can work and still have time for my meditation and family time and all the rest. So really not, kind of getting out of that either or thinking. I'm either fully doing everything that serves me, or I'm not doing any of it because I've switched off for a vacation or because it's the summertime. I think some of what we would say again in this kind of transformational community, and to our listeners, is that it's not about the conditions.
mm-mm.
It's not about whether it's summertime or whether the kids are at school or whether, well, the weather, whatever. It's not about any of those things. It's about who we are and what we're creating and what we would
Mhm,
love. And
mhm.
and if we would love those things, we do them anyway. And
Correct.
bit like we said before, chop wood, carry water. You're going to do that whether you're on holidays or whether you're working, and whether
Right.
you're busy or whether you're not busy.
Yeah. I think it's a definitely a yes and, right? It's just because like
Absolutely.
I believe in that 100%. I believe that you have, I tended to thought I wasn't very good in the past about that. I was very either or thinking. Well, either I do this or I do this. That's kind of the where my head was at, because it was the way I was patterned to think. Right, is my that was
Sure.
that was my pathway. That was my paradigm. And when I was introduced to the yes and, it opened up a whole different idea for me, right? Like, so yes, I can still go do the barbecue and do this, whatever, but I can also have that extra bike ride, or have that workout, or have that a better meal the next day. And it's about that's really, really key, I think, to easing the pressure,
Yeah.
right? Because I think oftentimes as a society, right, we put this pressure on ourselves to be perfect, to do it. Like, if I'm not going to get my goals if I don't lean all in, and I'm 100% here, and I don't, and I believe that it's not about stronger, harder, faster. It's about doing it with ease and grace,
Yeah.
and not. Yes, we can be 100% committed here, and we can be doing these other things as well. It's no different than someone going out earning double the income on half the hours. It's the same idea, but just in a
Yeah.
different way. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Exactly.
It's kind of
Exactly.
yeah. And I think that's really, really key to the success of maintaining the momentum that you've already got inside of your visions and your goals and the steps you've taken, um because sometimes if you let that go, that momentum, if if you decide to just come off the gas essentially, right, and you're going to coast for a little while, it can be a little bit difficult to put your foot back on the accelerator to do that again in the fall, right? It can be discouraging because you feel like you've
Yeah.
wasted some time, or you've lost some momentum or some ground you could have gained, right? And so then we beat ourselves up about it, because it's like, well, I could have
Yeah.
been doing all these things and I didn't do it.
Yeah, so I mean, I think there's two things I would say around that, and one is that, like, it's not about perfection,
I
right? So
agree.
so for ourselves, for everybody listening today, it's not about, like, I have these goals and these commitments, and I never waver, or I never divert. So really, like, what we're talking about is progress, not perfection.
Yes.
So it's not about being 100% on or off any particular path at any given time. And I think in those moments where, like, if we unconsciously fall off the wagon, let's put
Yes.
it that way, if we're not realizing we're doing it, and suddenly the summer's gone, and we've realized it's happened. I mean, hopefully in our work here we talk about noticing what you're noticing. So hopefully for any of us or any of our listeners, you'd catch that, a week in, or a couple of days in, a couple of weeks in, and you'd notice, okay, I've left go of all my good practices, or I'm not eating as healthily as I was. We catch that, and we celebrate that we caught it, right? We
Absolutely.
and we don't go to beating ourselves up, and
Correct.
we recommit. Would I still love that end result of
Hmm.
the fitness or the health, or the whatever it is? And if I would, I recommit. Um, and I think the other thing is, like, if you are going to go on holidays and you want to be a bit freer, you want to be able to have the beer with the barbecue or whatever it is, to kind of consciously do that and just say, I'm gonna do it for that event or that day or that week, if you want to, even, but do it and say, I'm going to enjoy every single minute of it, and every single mouthful, and every single sip, and then I'm going to recommit to
Hmm.
a more healthier outcome, or a more healthier goal, because I think we can't be in that split energy all the
No.
time, that I want it but I can't have it, or I'm not having it but I'm pissed off about that or whatever. So I think sometimes, if you want to have it, if you really want to have it,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
enjoy it, and
Yeah.
then come back to, I really want that end result as well, and this won't get me there if I have it all the time.
Right.
So I'll have the moments of pleasure that and and enjoy the having of it, but then I recommit because actually the beer or the beef or the whatever it is doesn't, it's not who I am in my vision.
Right. And I think it's the other thing about that too is that it's understanding that it's in moderation too, right? Of course, we don't,
Yeah.
the overindulgence is where that really derails people, and that can be overindulgence in food, it can be overindulgence in alcohol, it could be overindulgence in sugary drinks or um, people love Starbucks and they go there and they get the big iced teas and stuff like that. If you overindulge in some of that stuff, or in lack of time, right? You're overindulging in just wasting that time or not being intentional. It's the same idea. If you do things in moderation, you're doing it intentionally where you know and you're aware of what you're doing it, then it doesn't really change your end result or your goal because you can take that time, take a day or two. We all need rest. We all need moments in time to just kind of recover, regroup. And sometimes those days are amazing as well, because just because you have these goals or this idea, because you want to transform your life, we're talking about transforming life, right? We look at life and we're changing and we're transforming. That's what this whole podcast is designed to help people do essentially and guide you through some of the things and make and bring awareness or shine light on some of the things that are showing up that we kind of often do as a society, right? We get patterned a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
But we're not talking about, once again, you say not perfection. We're not looking to do this all the time, every way. We're not trying to put it in a box and making it so rigid that it becomes more of a pain to do it, right? We want it to be
Mm-hmm.
free and we want to have good energy around it. We want to have that acceptance of this is amazing and I'm having an amazing life and an amazing experiences. And so it really does, when moving into the summer, especially into the summertime, the opportunities there to be really mindful are huge. It's which is
Mm-hmm.
really, really cool. Be very intentional with my summer,
Yeah.
right? Plan your summer. Hey, look, I've got this vacation here. I've got this camping trip here. I've got this kid's activity here, and know that when that time comes, like for us, right now it's going to be graduation time for my son who's 18 years old. He's graduating in high school or from high school, and we get a chance to really celebrate that. But we're intentionally doing things that are still in alignment with what our goals and vision. But those moments in time, there may be something that I may not take in the best food. I might not take in the best or the most healthy of meals or treats. There might be cake. There might be, all these things that are going to be there. It's okay because it's in that moment I'm intentional, knowing that I'm doing this with intention, right? With to celebrate this moment and make this moment the best
Exactly.
moment for him. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. And I think, again, I've been working with the Radical Wellbeing Program, and I think we want to really not make food an enemy, or not make alcohol an enemy, or not, not make something that you see as an indulgence bad. I mean, it just is what it is. And it comes back to your idea of the moderation piece. Like, sugar's just doing its thing, and the fizzy drinks are just doing their thing. They just are what they are, and it's how we engage with them
Hmm.
is what creates the problem. And if our I think it's Esther and Jerry Hicks talk about this in terms like, if I'm taking in this food or this drink and I'm saying to myself, this is bad, I shouldn't be eating this, my experience of it is that it is going to be bad for me. But if I'm taking it in and I'm saying, it's lovely to have this on occasion, and I'm enjoying it while I'm eating it, and nothing is bad unless I make it so, then my body can deal with it and manage with it. I think but Joe Vitale, is it Joe Vitale? Was he the guy who wrote Zero Limits? He talks about this idea
Mm-hmm.
as well. And meeting the man who brought Ho'oponopono to the West. Um, is it Lou Hen or Hen Lou? I always get it mixed up. But he talks about when Joe Vitale met him, he smokes cigars. Vitale smokes cigars, and he thought this man would say to him like, "Oh, you need to cut that out, and it's
Mm-hmm.
not good for you." But the guy was saying, if you can enjoy it while you're having it, and to your point, if you're just having it in moderation, it won't it won't do you damage
Hmm.
because your whole attitude and your whole vibration around it is that it's okay and it's pleasurable and it's safe. So again, it's not about overdoing these things and trying to tell yourself, well, it'll be fine. It's
Yeah.
not that,
Yeah.
but
Oh,
it's
this is
like,
good.
yeah, but if we're just, we're having a little bit of what you love and
Yeah.
you're able to enjoy it in moderation, then it won't do you any harm.
Yeah.
I do believe that
It
because
does come,
everything is
I
vibration.
was gonna say it comes back to the energy of it, right? The energy of that moment, right? And I think that's really, really important. So um uh it's yeah. Uh, I just love the idea of the energetics of when you're in that moment. That's such a great visual for me. Like if you're if you're enjoying whatever that moment is, regardless of what it is, it doesn't matter if it's a camping trip, if it's a whatever that is for you, whatever that moment is. If your energetics is high and vibration is high, perfect. I mean, that's great. That's
Yeah,
amazing, right?
yeah,
Should you be doing certain things? Should you be doing it every single day, 3 times a day? Probably not, right? Like some of that stuff. But if you're doing it in that moment and it's like, yeah, I'm really enjoying this particular celebration or this moment or this anniversary or this whatever that is, uh, this family time together, this family reunion in the summertime, whatever that looks like in the summer for you. If the vibration is really high there, I think it's great. You're right. I think you're going to create a different kind of result with that than if you go
yeah,
into it with the other side going, well, I've got this goal and I've got this idea and I shouldn't be doing this. It totally takes, and I'm still going to do this, but I'm just like, this is not a really good idea. The energetics of it is so much lower that it is actually going to
yeah,
create maybe some dissonance,
absolutely.
right? So,
Absolutely. And you were saying, I think we've both been saying, like, to be intentional about the experience you want to have. I mean, we would say that for all year long. You want to be
yes.
intentional, what are we living by design or by default? We talk about that all the time. And when we think about past summer experiences, we have some longings and discontents around that. So again, it's not like when we say to each other and we're saying to our listeners, be intentional about the kind of summer you have, and part of you might be thinking, well, I don't know. I mean, you do know. You've
Hmm.
had some experiences in the past, some of which you loved, and more of that, please. And there's some stuff you didn't like, and less of that, and maybe you see a friend or a neighbor and they're doing certain things and you think, oh, that looks like fun, maybe
Hmm.
we could try that. So it's really this capacity to notice what we're noticing, what brings me joy, what causes me to feel contractive, where are the people and the places and the things that it cause me to feel expansive, and use that data, that it's just information, and use it to build that picture of, that's the kind of summer I would
Right.
love, where we have the fun times, and I still feel like I'm on track with
I'm
my
talking about,
goals. And
yeah, for sure.
yeah,
Yeah. I love that intention because I love the idea of the calendar. Like I just think it's the reason why I brought that up is I really believe that if we know we have a habit of the summertime being a little loose, right? If we know if we have that awareness, right? I know when summertime comes, things get off the rails a little bit. Like I lose track and I'm not as intentional. I don't have the daily routines. I miss my journaling and I miss my connection or meditation or whatever that is. If, if you're aware of that, right, and you're moving into the summertime and if you just take a minute to say, okay, I'm going to be more intentional this year, how much better will that summer even be potentially?
yeah,
Right. And if you can use that intention with a calendar and you look at your calendar and maybe it's already full with all these events. But if you look at those events and say, okay, well, this is all going to be amazing and I can still do all the things that I want to do here. I'm not really losing any ground here on my vision or my where I want to go in life. Because like I say, you can potentially have your business still thriving. I mean, how many stories have we heard maybe of where people literally like have put all these things in place and they're just super intentional and they may cut back their time and they create even greater abundance.
yeah,
I mean, how many stories
yeah.
have you heard, right? I think you are one of those stories, as a matter of fact. I believe that was
Well,
something that you did, right? So like I think that's really, really amazing. You doubling your income. I mean, that doesn't happen by mistake.
no.
And
No,
not that it's about you, it's just that you're an example of some of these principles
of applying them.
and
Yeah,
applying these principles
absolutely.
and being intentional throughout the entire calendar year, and not having those
Absolutely.
moments of pause or stutter where you kind of fall off and then you have to re-engage, because it takes a bit of energy to get back to where you were sometimes if you've actually come right off
Yeah.
that path, right?
Yeah. So let's just really remind ourselves as well, okay, that it can be a kind of common hours thinking that everything goes to pot over the summer,
Mm-hmm.
or it gets really loosey
Yes.
goosey, and and therefore I fall off the wagon, or don't commit to my goals, or don't grow my business, whatever it is. So again, we want to, like, if any of us are creating an intention for the summer where, if you love the summer, and you love the lack of structure, and you love how you can be in all of that, then there's no problem. I mean, we're not saying you have to change
No,
something that you
of course
love.
not.
If it serves you, and it's allowing you to experience and have results that you love, keep going. It's only if your experience of it is contractive after
Yes.
the
Yes.
event, or you have regrets about it, that
Absolutely.
you
Great
want to
point.
think about it and be
Yeah.
more intentional in service of what you do want to experience, and,
Yeah.
and what the end result is.
Yeah. And think anyone, and those people that are kicking around you, the thing that you surround yourself with. Like I know I'm, there's a saying, once again, in our financial agency, there's a misconception that the summer doesn't yield the same results as a fall would or as a spring
Yeah,
would, right? That quarter of the year in the middle is a write off. It's a loss. It's always a downturn in client engagement and various things. That hasn't been my experience with that, and the reason is that we treat it very mindfully, like right,
yeah,
we sort of prime things up and we make sure we're doing the same things and still reaching out and doing all these things. We've actually seen some of the best results over that particular summertime for us, right? So I think and
mm,
then that's my, you could get just you could just believe what the common hours think, right? That moment of, well, this is just the way it is. And you're right. If you are expansive in the a little bit looser, a little bit more free calendar, hey, if it's expansive and you're getting results, we applaud you and continue doing what you're doing. That's amazing. And I think that's a great point. Because I don't want you to think that you have to be more structured if you don't enjoy being more structured over the summertime. That's okay, right? But if you feel a little bit tight around that lack of structure, or you feel like you're kind of shrinking a little bit when you haven't done those things, I think it's important to realize that too. And really,
yeah,
what it really means is that we're just becoming more aware, right? And we
yeah,
work with awareness, and we've talked about awareness, and awareness is really important, I believe, to and to really make those changes, because ultimately, how you feel about a certain thing will determine how you get the result, right? That's the results formula in a nutshell, right? Your feelings and your thoughts create your feelings, and your feelings are your actions, and your actions are your results. So how you think about it, how what you feel about it will really differently change, right? And so it's about being aware. So we want to shine that light of awareness. We want to give you the tools here to really make the summer a success, whether it be whatever it is for you. Is that,
yeah,
and
absolutely,
I think that's
absolutely.
really key.
Yeah. And then I think what I would offer in terms of, we keep saying it's not about perfection, it's about progress. So in those moments, if I realize, oh, I wanted to be more intentional about my eating, or my meditation, or my exercise, or my business, whatever it is, and we've fallen off the path a bit, I think the best thing we can do is just to get back on it really fast. Don't No recrimination, no beating ourselves up, just get back on it. I remember being in a dieting program years ago, but we learn something every time, don't we? And the instructor, or the coach we had at the time, she used to say, if you find yourself that you've so this was a dieting program, a healthy eating program. So she used to say, if you find, like, you whether it's days or weeks or months of unhealthy eating, the minute you kind of notice, oh, I've been doing that, she said, just said, put something healthy in your mouth straight away, whether it's, taking a glass of water or a piece of fruit or something. And it's like, I'm doing that. I'm reinforcing that good habit the minute I can. And, so if I've forgotten my meditation program for weeks and weeks, just sit and take a couple of mindful breaths and just like I'm in the zone, I'm back on track, I'm doing this thing,
Hmm.
and just straight back in there. There's a
Awesome.
great quote from is it Les Brown in the States? And he says, before you get out of bed in the morning, it's like, here I go again. We're doing this thing. I've got what it takes. So, every time like I think decision and commitment it's really a daily practice,
I agree.
and any time I notice I've forgotten it or fallen off the wagon, it's just like, okay, now I know. Now I
Yeah.
have a choice again. Here
Yeah.
I go again.
Yeah.
I've got what it takes. I'm doing this thing.
Yeah. So as we wind up here, I think something that comes to mind for me as we finish. So we're talking about avoiding those summertime blues of like feeling kind of constrictive and down over that summertime piece of it, right? That's the idea. What I really would love here is just, understand, guys, that it's just about awareness piece, being aware of it, having the ability to um just be intentional. Know that when you wake up in the morning, know that when you open your eyes in the morning, the opportunity is exactly the same every day to do exactly what you need to
Yeah.
be doing, right? The opportunity doesn't change day to day. It's exactly the same. And it's how we move into the day and how we intentionally move through that moment is what's going to show up in the results for us. And once we're doing those things intentionally, be okay with moments of imperfection, because it's okay to be imperfect in this. This is just about making the progress little by little. And
Yeah.
you've grown. If you've done stuff with us, you've grown a lot throughout the last 2/3 of the year. This is one great step to continue a bit of that growth, continue that step forward. That even if it's at a snail's pace, it doesn't matter. You know.
Yeah. And I think for me, maybe to bring this into a land, I would just come back to probably one of the first questions we posed here and for our listeners is, what would you love? Like
Hmm.
as you're thinking about the summer, and yeah, there's certain things you have to do if your kids are off or you've already got commitments to certain family events or whatever. But at the end of the summer, what would you love to look back on and say, that was a great summer this year?
Hmm.
And I'm so happy and grateful for the experiences we've had and the results we've created. So, to just give that a little bit of time, what would you love for over these months? And what would you love to be celebrating as we go into the fall and then go create that?
Hmm. Awesome. Love it. Thanks again for joining us this week. We really appreciate you tuning in and listening. Anything new on the horizon, Maeve, right now as you move into the summertime for your group? Or are we looking for anything special?
Oh, not so much. I mean, it's a time where I don't do kind of the seminars and things
Hmm.
at night or whatever, just because of vacation for me and prospective clients or existing clients. But definitely just to say it's not, I mean, our coaching carries on all
Hmm.
year, right? I work right through the summer in that regard and the support is there. So again, like for any of our listeners, if you're inspired by what you're hearing here or you're struggling with something and you'd like support to create new results. Absolutely. There's always slots in the calendar. We can put the link, Gary, into the information, just to have access to my online diary
Yeah,
every week.
absolutely.
There's one or two slots there. And I'm open to supporting right
Awesome.
throughout the year.
And
That's
yeah,
the
if you
hope.
know what, I recommend her to anybody. Like honestly, like that, it's awesome.
Thanks, Gary.
Seriously, it's awesome. I love it. The With us, I got another free webinar in July. It'll be near the end of the month. The dates are yet to be determined, but you can get all that information through my social media. It'll be all on there when it comes out, and the links will register. It's free, 100% free. Just it's an hour long, and so we just want people to come to that and just kind of get some additional support there as we move towards an event in the fall, as well as my call
Great
for
job.
a call for service. The book is out there. Always, it's on Amazon. I'd love if you could take a read of it, and yeah, and if you do, let me know how it is and see if it resonates with you. I love that feedback as well. I appreciate that kind of stuff. And like I
It's a
say,
great
once
read, Gary. You must put the link for that
I
into
will. Yeah.
the description below
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
podcast as well.
Thank you. Thank you. So thanks guys. Appreciate you all. Have a great couple of weeks. We'll see you again in 2 weeks. Enjoy the kickoff to summer. Enjoy your summer vacations if
Yeah.
you're on it, and we'll see you again.
Make it a great summer.
Yes, absolutely.